I wanted to make a long video stylized, sort of like my Ethan is Online video way back when, exploring Jake Weddle's past in specific, criticizing his deceptiveness and dishonesty, but if I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, I do not have the energy to do that because Jake Weddle does not deserve that level of recognition or attention. Why? Because he's a talentless, cowardly loser with no awareness of what it means to be a content creator on YouTube, which shows considering his failure of a channel. So I'll make the point of this video very clear very quickly. Jake Weddle is an enemy of everything that it means to be a content creator on YouTube, and for several reasons. Although, to be clear, Weddle himself isn't the only person responsible for recent events that have occurred, but we'll get into that. To summarize some recent events as quickly as possible, let me begin with a video published by a smaller artist and commentary creator known as Hellbent. Hellbent made a video where she attempted to look into and criticize Weddle's productivity from a comedian's perspective, only to come to the realization that Weddle makes subpar content while being continuously distracted by the thought of Mr. Beast and the allegations levied against him. Something about this video that stuck out to me personally as a longtime observer of the anti-Mr. Beast squad is Weddle's conversation with Hellbent in regards to Rosanna Pansino's misconduct. During this conversation, Weddle alleged that Rosanna had worked in tandem with the FBI and relevant authorities and had been quote-unquote greenlit every step of the way, including the publication of alleged CSAM material regarding the video she posted on October 26, 2024. This stood out to me in particular because for a while, people have generally just thought Weddle was a sort of victim of Mr. Beast, and I use the word victim in this case very lightly. Even some of the most critical individuals on the scene gave Weddle huge benefit of the doubt, something that I personally haven't found myself agreeing with due to discrepancies and inconsistencies in Weddle's stories. I thought that this guy for the most part was an unreliable narrator, an individual that changed his attitude about his employment in Mr. Beast only when it benefited him, but simply calling out his changes in attitude and minor inconsistencies here and there wasn't good enough for me. I wanted something more concrete and definite. That's why this conversation between Hellbent and Weddle stood out, because in my opinion it shows the lengths of deceptiveness that Weddle is willing to go through to maintain this image of Mr. Beast being this dark, looming cloud that has negatively impacted him along with many others. Who those many others are, who knows, because no one was ever named and no one has come out. Regardless, the reason I say that is due to how inherently wrong Weddle is about his claims in this conversation, which leads me to believe that Weddle was just lying for the sake of maintaining the anti-Mr. Beast status quo at the time. There's some key points here. Weddle says Rosanna has been working with the FBI. Weddle says Rosanna reported Mr. Beast to the FBI prior to the release of her video. Weddle says the FBI greenlit gave the stamp of approval to Rosanna's process every step of the way. Here's the kicker though. There's just no way any of this is true, and anyone with more than one brain cell could easily make that determination. To make it clear, there's just no way Rosanna would have ever been working with the FBI. She's not a witness or someone that was heavily involved in criminal activity that the FBI was actively investigating. This is obvious now, considering how many of these allegations were outright false. Second, I sincerely doubt Rosanna made any report at all. I wholeheartedly believe that that claim was made to save face amidst the criticism for releasing what they thought to be alleged CSAM to the public. Had they actually made that sort of tip to the FBI, they would have promptly been informed to make sure that all of the information they have is accurate. Many federal resources online also ask that any image stored or modified not be distributed as it negatively affects victims, meaning they would have never been given any sort of authority, permission, or any other word you want to use here to disseminate that image in their video. Rosanna and Dogpack were entirely in the wrong for what they did, regardless of intent. Not to mention, the original image is clearly not CSAM. So either they're incredibly idiotic or they identified the image as CSAM in their video in an attempt to be malicious and spread false information. So there is just no possible way that Rosanna was given a stamp of approval every step of the way, let alone even being involved with the FBI at all. Hypothetically, if the FBI had looked at any of this evidence, Rosanna would not have been this civilian cooperator, and they would have definitely identified that there were no crimes committed, so there would not have been any reason to greenlight an active defamation campaign by Rosanna. If anything, if there was any back and forth communication between these two parties, it probably would have ended at Rosanna being advised not to do anything at all and remove herself from the situation to prevent tainting anything. With all of this being said, either Weddle was being lied to and misguided by Rosanna and Dogpack, and he just believed them at face value with no critical thought of his own, or he pulled that shit out of his ass to make the argument sound better within the conversation that he was having with Hellbent. Either way, it's outright dishonest, and it shows that Weddle is either a useful idiot with the IQ of a goldfish, or he's a dishonest, malicious individual. But that's not where the story ends so far. If it ended here, it would be incredibly easy to just call him an idiot and move on. But there's more to this that makes him more of an enemy to those with integrity and respect for this scene. Here's where things start getting interesting in the Weddleverse. Shortly Shortly after this video was published, Weddle's girlfriend, funnily enough, started threatening legal action. Why? Because Hellbent had allegedly used Jake's intellectual property illegitimately, as well as recorded people without their consent in a private Discord, or so she claims. This led to an incredibly hilarious crash out from Weddle and his girlfriend, where they began to threaten Hellbent with legal action in an attempt to get her to remove her video criticizing Weddle, making confidently wrong assertions that Hellbent will face legal repercussions for her actions. So let's talk about Lex's interactions with Hellbent, because the reality is, after observing this entire situation, I'd argue that Lex is the true evil in this all, with Weddle being the lesser of the two. Initially, Lex posted this comment on Hellbent's video where she obnoxiously claims that Hellbent infringed on intellectual property laws and one-party consent laws. Let's make one thing clear. Hellbent's entire video is in fact fair use. Lex will attempt to use these mental gymnastics and obfuscations of real laws to claim that Hellbent used paywalled content by recording a call you could only get through paying. But that literally doesn't mean anything. Last time I checked, you can't claim a call that was recorded in a country where it's legal to record conversations is subject to someone's intellectual property if a conversation literally can't belong to you. These people love throwing legal jargon around to try to make it appear as if they have more power than they actually do, but it's evident what their goals are. They can't handle criticism, not one bit. And this is why they're so two-faced and try to play every side. Even going into the DM exchanges with Hellbent, look at the tone shift in some of these. All of the manipulation tactics used as if Lex's life depended on it. Befriend, flattery, relatability, sympathy baiting, intimidation, coercion. Literally everything is here. And I find it so ironic how these are the same people that are attempting to accuse Mr. Beast of being a malicious individual who uses people when everything about this person reeks of a manipulative demon. Let's look at some of these screenshots that interest me in particular.
Guys, we've been dealing with a lot of harassment, so sorry for treating you like shit because of it. On the bright side, I gave you attention and hope you succeed in the long run.
And these are the same people that will hold Mr. Beast accountable for actions he didn't know would be harmful in the future, say that he doesn't have an excuse for said actions, then turn right around and do the exact same thing within their own behavior towards other people. But the hypocrisy doesn't end there.
It's lucky that we're the ones threatening legal action against you. Other people won't be so merciful.
Yeah, man, I'm sure that attempting to strong-arm someone into some sort of legal agreement that prevents your criticism from being heard is a merciful thing. Because that's actually exactly what went on here, to be clear. After what appears to be 24 hours of Lex attempting flattery and sympathy-baiting tricks towards Hellbent, Lex came back with this text from none other than Weddle himself. Tell Hellbent that I formally request that the video about me she posted to be deleted, not privated or unlisted, from YouTube and any other platforms and her hard drives, and the video or its contents or any clips are not to be discussed by her, privately or publicly, besides with you or me, or redistributed, re-uploaded, or saved on any cloud servers. And that if she does not comply, or is found to have not fully deleted the video or kept a copy of it, or has engaged in discussion regarding the video or its contents, either publicly or privately, that we are giving the attorney the go-ahead, and tell her she needs to send proof that she has deleted it, and that is not just privated or unlisted. Jake is actually such an insane individual.
She needs to delete this video, not just from YouTube, but also her hard drive, and she needs to prove she deleted those videos and doesn't have any copies in private.
Yeah, Jake, as if you could ever prove this yourself if you ever got your way. There's just no way you're serious about these terms, and even if you were, there is literally nothing you could get Hellbent for legally. And they know this, which is why they keep talking about talking to legal teams that they obviously don't have. Not that they could afford them anyways, unless they want to piss away the Mr. Beast money, but that's a joke all of you had heard too many times. Here's some more irony for you though. Critiquing public figures is fair game as long as it's done lawfully, Lex says. You know who didn't do that lawfully? The guy you guys keep dick riding, Dogpet, considering the defamation the alleged CSAM, which wasn't actually CSAM. I would honestly love to go through all of the logs with those of you who haven't seen them, but there is just so much here the video could be hours long, so I suggest you just go watch Nicholas Diorio. Let's look at some of the tweets Jake himself put out. What you did was illegal. Recording people without their consent is a worse crime in the UK. No, it isn't, Jake. You're either lying or you're an idiot for the sake of presenting yourself as a victim or to boost your ego. You broke several laws doing this. Okay, Weddle, can you please point to the articles that have been violated? Evidently, you have nothing and can't do anything. On to something greater, though. There is a much larger hypocrisy here. Jake Weddle in the past has gone on meltdowns on Instagram about believing victims and how Jimmy himself should call off those that quote-unquote harass whistleblowers. These are the same people that get pissed off at attempts to silence other people. Yet in this situation, these people are so pathetically fragile and inept that they want to silence someone who at the time had less than 300 subscribers for doing what exactly? Criticizing Weddle of being a distracted loser that can't keep Mr. Beast out of his mouth? Out of all of the issues that you currently have, Weddle, such as your claim to have debt and you're attempting to legally fuck someone over literally nothing, it's very evident that you were just grasping at straws to preserve your ego. Here's the thing though, to both Weddle and Lex, Both of you morons don't actually know anything about what it means to operate on YouTube or how to be a public figure, which explains why Weddle's channel gets no traction regardless of subscriber base. And Lex hardly has any pull, while making herself a target to those that exclusively enjoy scrutinizing others. These people have actively made themselves the enemy of what it means to be a YouTuber, considering their attempts to threaten creators with legal action, which is sort of an unspoken rule on YouTube. If there were actually a violation of any laws they claim were broken, then maybe it would be understandable. But what they're actually doing here is trying to revoke someone's content and also silence their voice. It's egregious by every definition of the word. Not to mention that these people are also their own worst enemies, making up claims on Reddit, being actively called out for their dishonesty, posting nothing but cope, and bringing more negative attention to themselves for attempting to bick those that are significantly more informed than they are. It's embarrassing, and honestly, their main solution should just be to log off. That's all I got for today. Later.